Why did Yoda and the Jedi High Council allow Dooku to keep his lightsaber when he announced that he was leaving the Jedi Order? Greetings, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. Master Dooku as a Jedi became renowned for one thing: his skill with the lightsaber. Despite being a strict teacher who continuously produced exceptional students, or even being a radical Jedi who had strong political opinions towards the Republic, it was Dooku's lightsaber that often captured the attention of any Jedi who brought him up in conversation. Dooku was an icon amongst the Jedi. Dooku's lightsaber was nearly perfect, just as his skill. It was curved, and had the design which perfectly complemented him as a blade master of the era, as he was considered the finest duelist in his day, rivaling the likes of even Yoda. But of course, as we know how the story goes, Master Dooku would eventually leave the Jedi and become Count Dooku of Serenno. Yet, his departure wasn't exactly abrupt, and he had actually offered to surrender his lightsaber to the Council upon his leaving. However, it was Grandmaster Yoda who would allow Dooku to keep his Jedi weapon, unaware of all the evil that it would go on to commit. But if one knew the proper Jedi procedures for retirement, one would understand how unusual of an exception this was for Yoda to make. In today's video, we are going to look into the canon novel Dooku Jedi Lost in order to find out exactly why Dooku was allowed to keep his lightsaber, despite renouncing his life as a Jedi Master. When we speak of this being highly unusual, we are of course referencing the traditional ceremony of what happens when a Jedi decides to retire. Not all Jedi Knights or Masters decide to continue with the life of a Jedi until death, and there have been some, albeit a select few, who freely decided to retire from their service as a Guardian of Peace. Only 19 Jedi Masters before Dooku have ever done so, but the Jedi Order had a very specific procedure for this occasion. First, the Jedi in question would make their intentions and reasons known to the Council. Second, they would surrender their lightsaber, as it was a Jedi's weapon only and a symbol of one's service to the Order. Their lightsaber would then be kept in the Jedi archives on display with a plaque that explained who the blade had belonged to and why they decided to leave the Order. This was done to serve as a lesson to all future Jedi who were questioning their way of life, and to show them that they always had an option, but it was always meant to be more of a cautionary tale. A reminder that everybody had the right to leave, but it was not ideal for the future of the galaxy, and that the Jedi should strive to make their lives as fulfilling as possible. And finally, the last step was the High Council would dip into the treasury in order to gift the retiring Jedi a certain amount of credits, just enough to get them off-world if they so desired, and then get started on their brand new life. All of this is fine and good, but the bantha in the room is that Dooku did none of these things whenever he left the Order. His departure was the most irregular of all of the Lost 20, and in fact, he wasn't even at the Jedi Temple when he announced that he was leaving the Order. We learn the full story in Dooku Jedi Lost, where it is revealed the story goes back a long time. As a youngling, Dooku was able to connect with his birth sister named Jenza while on a field trip to Serenno, his home world. Much later on in life, he would receive a distress transmission from his sister, stating that their world was in danger and she needed a Jedi's intervention, but Dooku was the only one she could reach out to that she trusted among the Order. The problem was that Dooku's brother, Count Ramil, had hired a big group of mercenaries to attack his own people. All of this was in a convoluted effort to turn Serenno against the Republic. However, the Republic Senate turned a blind eye to Serenno's plight, stating that it was an internal affair and that they did not wish to engage in it, that they would not be getting involved at the risk of Republic life. To make things even worse, the Jedi High Council, still serving the Senate, would follow along with this decision and would refuse to get involved either. Indignant, Dooku himself would travel to his world and work to liberate it from the mercenary issue. At its culmination, an enraged Dooku would kill his brother Ramil and end the debacle once and for all. However, this left behind a major issue. The heir to the throne of Serenno was now dead, leaving Dooku as its only inheritor. Without Dooku, the people of Serenno would be without a ruler, and realizing how much his people and family needed him, Dooku would come to accept that his place was as ruler of his home world. Dooku had grown angry with how the Jedi had approached politics. He had even attempted to become a Jedi politician to change this, as we learn in the Legends novel Darth Plagueis, but this still barely did anything. If he was truly to be a guardian of peace and justice that he swore himself to be, his place was on Serenno. After contemplating this new life, Dooku would reach out to Grandmaster Yoda directly, his former master, after a lengthy conversation, and Dooku debriefing Yoda on the events of Serenno, as well as his plans to rebuild his world and his own house. The two Jedi Masters would have this exchange. Yoda says, "Saddened by your decision we are, but honor it we will." Dooku replies, "Thank you. I will surrender my lightsaber to Master Kostana." Yoda then tells Dooku, "No, necessary that will not be." Dooku then says what we all know to be true. It is the weapon of a Jedi. And now we get the truth of why Yoda let him keep his lightsaber. Yoda says, "Which is why keep it you must. More than a name a Jedi is, more than a title, strong in the Force you are, guide you it will. Guide us all, it must." Yoda's comments here are extremely fascinating. Even though the prized Padawan of the Jedi is leaving, he still believes that Dooku is a Jedi at heart. He says that much when he states that being a Jedi is more than a title or a name. Tragically, Yoda does not know how far Dooku has truly fallen, and in this moment, he states that he believes within his heart and within the Force, Dooku is still an acting Jedi, even if he is apart from the Order. He allows Dooku to keep the badge of the Jedi, to show what every Jedi should strive to be. This makes his fall even more tragic. Yoda believed that Dooku was the pinnacle of a Jedi, and at once, maybe he was. Dooku was to be an example that not all who left the Order were incorrect in their ways, as we all know from being told by Obi-Wan. A Jedi's weapon is his life. This applies to Dooku as well, even more so when considering that the study of the blade was one of the things that he built his entire life and identity around. Yoda letting him keep it was the ultimate sign of respect. Dooku wasn't just skilled with the lightsaber, or that he fancied the study of it, he was obsessed with it. Hours, days, months, years of his life were poured into its perfection. And Yoda as his master knew this perfectly. I believe that this was a moment of deep compassion by Yoda, who knew that Dooku's weapon was his life, and that beyond that, he did not hold a normal connection with it that most Jedi had. It didn't matter that Dooku was stepping into a life of wealth or luxury. Yoda always believed that he was a Jedi at heart, and that the temple would always be his true home. Even after Dooku openly became a Sith Lord, in the novel Yoda Dark Rendezvous, the old master tells Dooku that he is always welcome back, and that the Jedi temple will always be his home. This all shows to us just how special of a place Dooku had in Yoda's heart. This was a deeply personal friend, yet even someone like Yoda's son. No other Jedi had that kind of connection to Yoda until perhaps Obi-Wan or maybe Luke. But even then, both of them came to Yoda as young men, whereas Yoda practically raised Dooku. If he wanted to get even more personal, it was Yoda's way of making sure that Dooku kept a piece of his old life and his old master, putting in perspective the trust and love shared between the two aged Jedi. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on Dooku being allowed to keep his lightsaber after leaving the Jedi Order, the only individual that we know of on record? Do you believe that Yoda allowed this out of a place of secret attachment, or do you think it was purely philosophical? Thank you guys so much again for visiting the channel today, and your constant support. It truly does mean the absolute world to me, and it's because of you that I get to talk about my favorite franchise of all time. As always, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you're having a phenomenal day.